Yeah, good afternoon and welcome for session 2 of day 1. Hope all participants have enjoyed the central inaugural. It was really a grand event. Now I would like to take the privilege of introducing our speaker of second session for today. Second session for today is Mr. Durga Naveen K. He is a trainer by profession and CEO. He is a trainer by passion and CEO by profession. At his very young age, he has started his own company and set an example for entrepreneurs. Sir completed his graduation from KITS Warangal and he worked for 5 years in software development using Microsoft technologies in the domains of e-learning and e-commerce. His passion towards training students made him start Coin Consultants along with 4 other like-minded people, which till now has trained around 2 lakh graduates. That's really awesome, sir. Associated with more than 210 colleges across 5 states in India. At a very young age, sir is giving placements to so many BTech graduates. That is really tremendous on his side. Apart from Microsoft .NET and DBMS, he has done some good research on topics like cloud, object-oriented programming, memory management, etc. And to his privilege, I would like to also add a point that Sir is a very famous TEDx speaker who always gets tremendous likes for his YouTube videos also. So now I would like to invite Sir to please start your session. Welcome, Sir.
Sure, sure. Yeah, that was uh, that was a very big introduction, Aisha. Thank you, ma'am. It's like I'm just a normal faculty like you all. Okay, so this session is like I wanted to just drill upon few basic thoughts on cloud computing because today is just a first day session. Okay, so the title also I have defined it as real world versus virtual world. Which one is more real? That is the topic for today. So there is nothing like we will be drilling much into the in-depth concepts of cloud computing, but the whole topic will be around why and what and why and what of cloud computing. Okay, so shall we start, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure.
I request participants, please unmute whenever you would like to respond.
So I'm just opening my presentation for you all. Okay, by the time I open the presentation, I want to just start the session with a question. Okay, the question is like this. Guys, we generally type a URL, okay, URL in a browser like www.facebook.com. And when we click OK, the URL will directly get the page from Facebook server. How will this URL know that it has to go to that particular server and get the page? I hope you all understood the question. I'll repeat it once again. In a browser, okay, you type a URL. Okay, when you click OK to that URL, it will directly go to its particular server and get the page. How will this URL know that it has to go to that particular page? So Shashikala ma'am is saying domain name. Yeah, perfect. So see, it is all about the domain name. It is a DNS server which does it all. Absolutely right, Amar. Yeah, it is the DNS server. Okay, so it has an IP address. That IP address is unique across all the servers across the globe. Perfect. DNS server, domain name. Okay, so that IP address, whatever we write in the URL, like www. What do you say? www.facebook.com. When you write that point, okay, it is not that name, but there is a hidden URL behind it. Okay, and that URL, that IP address, it is directly going to that server. Okay, perfect. First question is perfect. First answer is right. The second question is, okay, this is your server. Okay, this is the Facebook server, for example. Okay, this is your Facebook server. The request has come and hit the server. Okay, so now my question is, how will this now IP address, because of the IP address, it directly goes to the server. But from here, how it will go inside and get an apt page like home page of Facebook? This is my second question, guys. I'll repeat my question. This is your server. Because of the domain name or DNS name, okay, domain name, server name, IP address, the request will come to the server. Till here, everything is fine. Okay, as per your answers. Now, how will this request know, okay, that it has to go to particular page, okay, which is in some drive and get that page? Because as a person, as a developer, okay, treat me as a developer from facebook.com. Okay, so facebook.com developer, what I'll do, I will develop something, okay, some Facebook application and put it in the server. Where do I put it? I will obviously put it in some drive, C drive or D drive, for example. Okay, I have put it in D drive. Okay, so D drive, Facebook folder, the whole project is there. Okay, now my question is, in your URL, you will never type D drive or C drive. You'll just type www.facebook.com. Okay, so from there, when you click that request is converted into HTTP request object and it goes to the server. Now my question is, from this server, okay, how will this URL know that it has to go to D drive, and in D drive Facebook folder, and in Facebook folder you have welcome page, as Purushottam sir is telling here. Okay, how it will directly go to that page and get it? Web server. Yeah, Amar, your point is right. Searches the resource. Okay. Okay, it's configuration entry of web.xml. Get or post method. Okay. In gateway interface, get or post method is in the code. Akhilesh sir, it is in the code. So more closer answer is Amar's answer. Okay, which is rotating towards web server, but still I want someone to Amar, can you dig more deeper into that? Web.xml is like it's a page where you configure the server name, all the names. That's it. Address resolution, no. Okay, so shall I tell you all the answer? Yes or no? As I said, Amar's answer is a bit very near, but yeah. To tell this answer, before I tell this answer, I want to tell you a small story. Okay. Web server are configured a default web page. Yeah, Amar, I understood your answer. So I will tell you the answer, guys. But before telling the answer for this question, okay, I wanted to go back because internet, servers, okay, you hit in a browser, it will go to the server. All these aspects came in 90s, okay, more predominantly in 1993, 1994, okay. But let's try to understand it more deeper, okay, because if you understand this, it is very easy to understand what is cloud, okay. So to understand this, let's go back, okay, to 1950. Okay, and come from there every 10 years, 5 minutes per 10 years. Okay, I will come and in 15-20 minutes, I will make you understand, okay, what is happening there in that server. Okay, so coming back from 1950, guys, you all know that Charles Babbage, Sai Dheeraj browse cache is checked. No. Okay, coming back. So 1950s, you all know that Charles Babbage has come with a wonderful innovation, okay, called computer. But there was a story behind, okay, how he got that idea to develop a computer. Okay, he was actually working on some mathematical calculations, guys. Okay, and he was really surprised seeing a concept in it. Okay. And that concept was using of numbers. Okay. And he was surprised because there is a concept in mathematics which is used to solve intangible problems. Generally, mathematics, real numbers, natural numbers, rational numbers, whole numbers, all these kinds of numbers are used to calculate, okay, and solve tangible problems in mathematics. But there is a concept in mathematics which is used to solve intangible numbers. Okay, can anyone tell me what is that concept called? Intangible numbers. I'll repeat the question, guys. In mathematics, there is a concept, okay, which is used to calculate intangible problems, solve intangible problems. What is that concept called? Any answers, guys? That concept is called complex numbers. Okay, all the other numbers are used to do something tangible. But when it comes to complex numbers, it is used to solve intangible calculations which are not in the jurisdiction or the boundary of a human being. Okay, if you want to calculate such kind of and solve such kind of problems, you should be using complex numbers. Okay, so what does a complex number say? If a is a real number, okay, then a plus ib is a complex number. So when he understood this concept, guys, then he got this idea. Okay, human beings in real world, okay, are also trying to solve a lot of problems on a daily basis. Okay, every day they are trying to solve some or the other problem. Yes or no? Every day they are trying to solve some or the other problem. So the problems which are not in their jurisdiction, they are not able to solve. Okay, to solve those problems, Charles Babbage has come with the concept of virtual world, okay, which is called computer. And here also, he defines it in the similar way of complex numbers. If a is a real number, okay, if a is real world, then a plus ib is virtual world or a computer. Guys, I just wanted you all to understand this concept so that when you are talking or speaking with your students also, okay, the perception in which they have to think about real world and virtual world, okay, you can set a mark of it. Okay, so listen to it very carefully, guys. Charles Babbage, when he defined computer, this was his concept. Okay, a is real world, then a plus ib is equal to virtual world or a computer. If there is no real world, okay, if there is no real world, there is no computer world or a virtual world. This is how he has defined. And when he defined it, okay, he tried to take as many concepts from real world, he put it into virtual world. Okay, he tried to take most of the concepts from real world to put it in virtual world. For example, okay, we as human beings in real world use 2 memory allocations to do any task on a daily basis. Every minute, if you are doing some task, that means we will use 2 memory allocations. Okay, in a computer also, he has put 2 memory allocations. Okay, faculty, all the faculties, can you tell me what are the 2 memory allocations, okay, in a computer, which generally we use to work on any software? 2 memory allocations in a computer. Perfect, Sneha. They are primary and secondary. Yeah, ROM is, we cannot speak about ROM, okay, because ROM is just read-only memory. Can anyone tell me why do we use ROM in a computer? Wonderful. I am excited to be in this program, guys. Generally, what happens is, whenever I take a faculty development program and I ask questions, there'll be only 1 or 2 people answering. But now this is a surprise for me. I got around 15 answers from you all. I think the group is really an energetic group. Guys, let's rock this session. Okay. Next 1.5 hours should give us extensive knowledge on cloud computing. This will be my promise if you all cooperate and answer and interact with me in this way. Okay. Thank you for that. Guys, coming back to the question, what do you mean by ROM, read-only memory? Why do we use this? Absolutely, to boot the system. Yes, Rajkumar, to boot the system. All the booting specifications will be there in ROM. Okay, so ROM is not a memory allocation unit. You cannot remove anything. Okay, so leave ROM. Okay, leave ROM. And what are all remaining? RAM is remaining. And can you tell me another memory allocation? RAM is one memory allocation. Can you tell me another memory allocation? No. All memory allocations are developed with the help of registers. So in computer, RAM is one memory allocation. There is one more predominant memory allocation which we use exclusively. No, not cache. RAM is one. There is one more memory allocation. Hard disk, absolutely. Perfect. Hard disk is the second memory allocation. Okay, these are the two memory allocations which we use in a computer. Okay, guys, which we use in a computer. Yeah, all those ROMs are subparts of ROM, Mahesh. So basically two memory allocations, hard disk and RAM. Can answer me this question. Can you execute any software in RAM without storing it in hard disk? Yes or no? I'll repeat the question. Can you execute any software in RAM without storing it in hard disk? It's a big no. You cannot execute anything in RAM without storing it in hard disk. It's a big no. You have to first store that software in hard disk. Okay, then only you can get it into RAM. Kodishwara garu, that is how computer is made. Okay, you see, when you write a C program also, when you click on compile plus run, it will ask to save. Where do you save it? In hard disk. Okay, not even you cannot. Okay, yeah, Amar, yeah, I understood thin computers. Okay, just leave that concept. General normal computer. Okay. Yeah, Prakash Garu, if you are putting it in a pen drive also, from pen drive, you have to put that software has to be stored into hard disk. Okay, or pen drive will be treated as a hard disk. And when you double click on it, then it will get into RAM. Okay, so without having it in hard disk, like an extra, yes, you can also define it in the external storage, but there should be some hard disk storage. Okay, if you are not storing it in hard disk, then if you are not storing it, you cannot execute it in RAM. Akhilesh, I did not understand your question. Hard disk is not addressable by the processor. So you are telling that, okay, it is just an information. Yeah, right. But the whole point, which is most important, is two memory allocations in a computer. One is hard disk and RAM. Without storing anything in hard disk, you cannot run it in RAM. Okay. Why I told you this concept is when Charles Babbage was defining computer, okay, I told you that all the components are taken from the real world. Okay, and these two memory allocations, hard disk and RAM, okay, are directly proportional to two memory allocations which we use in our real world. In real world, as a human being, we use two memory allocations. Day and every minute, we use two memory allocations to do n number of works. Okay, can you tell me what are those two memory allocations directly proportional to hard disk and RAM in a computer? Perfect. Brain is one memory allocation. Super. Okay, brain is one memory allocation. Okay, brain is hard disk or RAM? Hard disk. Okay. Okay. Let's see something like this. Hard disk is permanent memory allocation unit. Hard disk is permanent memory allocation unit. RAM is temporary memory allocation unit. What is brain? Permanent or temporary? P or T? Brain permanent. No. Brain is not permanent. If brain is permanent, I'll ask you, what did you do on the same day before 20 years? You need to answer me then. Yeah, brain is temporary. You may get a doubt, sir, why do we, yeah, very big T, Akhilesh, absolutely right. See, the point is, we cannot store anything like, okay, you may get a doubt. Okay, we remember few things. Yeah, we remember few things because we recall about them at regular intervals. Okay, there is a popular statement. Okay, if we or our neighboring people, okay, don't think or tell about our name, okay, we will forget our name also in 7 years. Okay, so brain is temporary. So what is temporary in this? RAM. So brain is directly proportional to RAM. Okay, so actually brain has two components. It has memory allocation and processing unit, but in computer he divided both. Processor is different and RAM is different. Okay, the whole execution of the program happens in RAM. The whole execution of the program happens in brain. This is pakka. Okay, so brain is directly proportional to RAM. Now, can anyone tell me what do you mean by hard disk in real world? What is hard disk in real world? Prasad, you nailed it. Books. Books, yes, but for illiterates, hard disk is also brain. No. Data centers, those are all software. I'm asking you in real world. In real world. See guys, you are using, Sangeeta ma'am, you are using two memory allocations now. One is brain, another one is also you are using. What is that? With science, no. Memories are directly proportional to brain. Gautam, no. DNA, no. Okay, I'll give you an example. See, without storing something in hard disk, you cannot execute it in RAM. This we have just derived a few minutes back. Without storing something in hard disk, you cannot execute in RAM. You derived it. Now come back. Now we are all using our brain. That means already hard disk memory is allocated. We are all personally now you are interacting with us. So already hard disk memory is allocated. Then only we can use our brain. Ice, heart. No. Nothing will be stored there. It is just an illusion. Anything else? Hippocampus is a part of brain. Okay, I'll answer the question, guys. Niyati, you are coming nearer. Okay, I'll answer this question, guys, because our topic is something else. I should not waste time here. But wonderful way of, you have been answering a lot. Thank you very much for respecting my questions and answering them like that. Perception. Okay, I'll answer the question, guys. It is, somebody has answered. I think, let me tell his name. Yeah, somebody called Prasad has answered. It is space. Space on Earth is hard disk. Just think of it. Whatever work you do, first you give space on Earth, then use your brain to execute it. Yes or no? Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, take a cricket. Okay, let's take an example of a cricket game. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Okay. So, yeah. So, let's take a cricket game, guys. Okay, what happens in a cricket game? Somebody is out. Okay, the next batsman, will he play in the pavilion itself? No, he has to come to the pitch, take his secondary memory allocation, hard disk memory allocation, use his brain, and bowler goes back, takes his secondary memory allocation, uses his brain, comes running, batsman will use his brain to bat. Guys, see, any work in this world, okay, is done by these two memory allocations. Okay, similar question what I have asked you previously. Tell me one damn work you do without using space on Earth. Can you please tell me one work which we do without using space on Earth? Without using space on Earth? Eating? No. For eating also you have to sit somewhere. Sleeping, you have to sleep somewhere. Dreaming, you have to hold yourself on the ground. Yeah, not possible. Not even a single damn work we can do without holding ourselves on the earth. Viniba, yeah, mind calculation also for your mind to work. Do you know space on earth and mind are correlated? Okay, for example, if I as a student, if I'll go into principal sir's room, okay, my mind, the hard disk space in principal sir's room, but my mind will play a different game. When I'm in a classroom, it plays differently. When I'm in a movie theater, it plays differently. Different hard disk spaces, okay, different mind calculations. So hard disk space means space on earth is directly proportional to how your brain is going to work. No work in this world. So that is where the greatness of Charles Babbage is that, okay, because without using real world, without understanding real world to the core, if he develops a computer, it may not be a long lasting invention. He made it exactly similar to what is there in a computer, guys. Okay, what is there in the real world. So that is how he defined. That is how he defined the whole concept. Okay. Can you all see my presentation, guys? Okay. Can you all see this next slide? Our technology, our machines are part of our humanity. We created them to extend ourselves, and that is what is unique about the human beings. Do you know who is Ray Kurzweil? He was the guy who gave the meaning of artificial intelligence in 1950s. Okay, so this is the definition which I have given for myself. Charles Babbage came out with this amazing invention of virtual world to solve human problems existing in the real world by extending the boundaries to accomplish our tasks. So there are a lot of works in real world which human beings are unable to do because they are not in reach of us. So such kind of problems can also be solved by a computer. Okay, that is what Charles Babbage told. And that gave rise to a great infrastructure, evolution of infrastructure. If you take in 1950s and 60s, each computer was a size of this room, my room. Okay, very big. Okay, and all the now if you see now today 2020, okay, you can just have a computer in a watch. Okay, or in just a set of 10 or 20 transistors, you can define a computer. Okay, that is the evolution of infrastructure, guys. The way it has evolved from 1950s, 60s, 70, 80. Okay, today we are talking about very small computers because of the nanotechnology. Okay, this is about infrastructure, guys. The next concept is about automation. Okay, next concept is about automation. So what is automation doing here? From 1960s, okay, I'll tell you the need. Why did the need of automation arise? Okay, very important. Please try to understand. And don't feel like, okay, this is a cloud session and why Durga Naveen is all talking about these things. Just give me time till 10 minutes. You'll understand where am I coming from. Okay, thank you. So yeah, coming back, guys, need of automation was given like this. You would have understood that the whole world is driven because of businesses and entrepreneurs. Okay, so in their business, okay, any business they do, what happens is whenever they do a business, okay, there'll be a lot of employees working under them, working under them, and few of the employees have every day they do 10 tasks. And this manager or a business person, entrepreneur, understood that, okay, one or two tasks each employee is doing with less accuracy. Okay. So those one task or two tasks, he wanted software to help him. Okay. That's where automation started. For example, an accountant. Okay. An accountant does 10 tasks per day. And now he has a problem. Okay. For doing one task with accuracy. Not every day he does mistakes, but once in a while he does mistakes, and the entrepreneur does not want such kind of mistakes to be done. Okay. So he gave the help of a software. That's the evolution of automation, guys. Initially, the automation evolution was like this. In 10 tasks, one task is not being done perfectly. So for that one task, okay, somebody should automate something. Okay. For that one task, okay, there should be automation. This was the need. Okay. 1960s, 70s, C and data structures came into picture, and automation came. Single input, single output automation started developing. Top to bottom approach, single input, single output. What does that mean? Okay, there are around 90 faculty in this room. I give an Armstrong number program to everyone. Okay, Armstrong number program. What you can do? You can give a number and tell whether it is an Armstrong number or not. That's it. You cannot do anything else with that program. Such programs are called single input, single output softwares. Those were in demand in 1960s, 1970s. But in 1980s, guys, entrepreneurs started thinking like this. Okay, there are 10 tasks of an employee. One task is already being automated. Why should I only get automation of one task? Why don't I tell him to automate all the 10 tasks? Okay, all the 10 tasks have to be automated. And from then, the evolution of automation went to the next stage. Okay, and top to bottom approach, all these things could not work out well. Okay, and then came the concept in 1989. Okay, the concept of object-oriented programming came into picture, because of which all the 10 tasks of the employee should be automated. That means the complete employee should be automated. Okay, so the whole object has to be brought into the computer. Okay, that was in 1989. Object-oriented programming came out, and people started making wonderful, innovative softwares. Okay, using object-oriented programming. Okay, so do you know the softwares at that time were sold, putting in a box, okay, a cassette box, and they go to each office and sell them. Okay, they used to installation process used to take 3 to 4 hours, like that they were doing. And in 1993, okay, communicative accessibility started increasing because internet got introduced into this world. Okay, and internet gave that accessibility. Rather than going from office to office, sell them the softwares, now we can upload it into internet. Everyone will download it and start working. There was a problem of platform dependency and independency, but that was solved in 1996 with the evolution of automation's first generation change, that is introduction of Java and JDK. Okay, so I'm halting it here, guys. I wanted you all to understand what is internet, okay, and how it is defined. As I told you in 1950s, okay, internet is defined, computer is defined as, if A is real world, okay, then A plus IB is virtual world. Okay, that was in 1950. Guys, in 1993, okay, internet was defined like this, stating that if A is a computer or a server, then A plus IB is internet. Did you all get my point, guys? It's very important. If A is a computer or a server, then A plus IB is internet. First, what it was in 1950s, if A is real world, A plus IB is virtual world or a computer. That was in 1950s. But in 1990s, the definition changed to, if A is computer or real or a server, then A plus IB is internet. Okay, now see what happened. Amar has answered about a web server. Okay, I'm coming to that concept. Okay, listen to it very carefully. Guys, this is your server. Okay, I am a developer in Facebook. Okay, I put the software into this server. Where did I put? In D drive, Facebook folder, I put the whole project. D drive, Facebook folder, I put the whole project. Okay, now to this server, a request came. But this request does not know how to go into D drive because we did not mention it in the URL. Okay. Now that is the point where we should understand that this is your real server or real computer. Okay. But that URL where it will search, it will search in internet. Okay. Then you should get a doubt. Okay. This real server is not internet. Yes. This real server is not internet or web. Okay. Now then how to create that web server and how to access that project is the next one or 2 minutes of our understanding. Listen to it very carefully, guys. Okay. Before understanding this, tell me one point. In 1990s, okay, when internet got introduced, browsers got introduced. Tell me one point. Can you access web or internet without web browsers? These are very simple concepts, but very important. Can you access web or internet? Amar, telnet is for intra. Okay, not with IP addresses and all. I'm just asking you. No, you cannot access. That means, okay, web browser is the pathway to internet, web, etc. Web browser is the pathway to internet and web. And there is one more thing called computer. So computer or server is one world. Okay, this is one world. Yeah, Amar. But still, without web browser, it is difficult. Yeah, as a technical guy, you are answering that question. But as a normal human being, how am I supposed to go into web? Yes, Kodeshwara Garu. To send HTTP request to server, you need a browser. Okay. A technical guy, networking guy can send, hacker can do without browser and telnet also, Amar. I'm talking on a non-technical basis. Yes, telnet is there, but for a non-technical guy, it is very tough. Okay. Now, why did I tell you this example is there are two worlds that you need to understand. One is server. Okay. One is server. Another one is web. Both are not same. Okay. One is server. Another one is web. Both are not same. Okay. I'll tell you what happens here. This is your server. Okay. Now this server, okay, should act as web. So to make this act as web, okay, you have to install a web server software into it, virtual web server software into it. Okay. Once you install into this real server a virtual web server software, then it will become internet or web. This is your web. And the hard disk space in this is web space. Okay. So where did he put the project? He put it in D drive in real server, D drive Facebook folder. Okay. Which, guys, in web browser, what you will type? A URL which is virtual. Okay. It's a virtual request. Okay. Where it will go and search? It will search in web. Where did you put your project? In real world, in computer, in server. It will not access. So what we need to do is, you have to take out this project from D drive, okay, and store it in virtual web space. Okay, how it is created? I'll explain you again. Listen to it very carefully. Into the real server, step 1, install a virtual web server into it. Can you name few virtual web servers? You need to, step 1 is install a virtual web server. Okay, once you install a virtual web server, okay, absolutely right, Vipul, IIS, Internet Information Services, Apache, Tomcat, WAMP, yes, Amar. Perfect. So all these things are virtual web servers. Okay, all these things are virtual web servers. So when a virtual web server is installed into this server, Tomcat, absolutely right, Radhika Garu. So when you are downloading virtual web server into your real server, this server starts acting as real server and also virtual server. Okay, in virtual server, the hard disk space, okay, when you are talking about installing virtual web server, in C drive, inetpub www root, there is a folder structure. That folder, okay, is called virtual directory. And if you put something into that virtual directory, your URL will go and catch it. So step 1, install virtual web server into it. In WAMP, it is htdocs, absolutely people. In Tomcat or Apache or IIS, it is inetpub / www root. So like this, for each virtual web server, there is a path. Okay, see, understand the concept. Okay, this is hard disk. Okay, A plus IB is virtual hard disk, virtual directory, var/www/html. Absolutely right, Ramar. Okay, so this is virtual directory. If you put your project in this, your URL will directly come and take it. Okay, why I told you this concept? 2 conclusions. 1, your real server is different, virtual web server is different. Okay, this is important. And the second one is, these are 2 different worlds. Okay, that's a wonderful thing, Pooja. I will repeat it again. Listen to it very carefully. Okay, I'll repeat it with a different example. Okay, now tell me if this scenario is right or wrong. Okay, you have Pooja, you have your WhatsApp. Okay, you mentioned hi in your WhatsApp to your friend in US. Okay, you mentioned hi. Okay, and that message from your phone, it will come to the server. Okay, from server it will go to his WhatsApp phone, and there it will ping hi. Then he will see and write, okay, hi, how are you? Then that message will come from their mobile to server, and from server to your mobile. Then you will tell, I am fine, what about you? That will come to server to there. Is this the process right or wrong? Okay, this is the process we generally think that the message is going from one place to another place, sender to receiver. Okay, but guys, that is an illusion. It is not like that. Okay, in server, WhatsApp server, when you write hi, okay, in WhatsApp server, an object is created. Shashikal Garu, let there be 3 or 4 servers, but server as a behavior, as an entity, it is one. Internally, you can have database server, security server, application server, etc. But the whole entity is one. Server entity is one. Am I clear, Shashikal Garu? Okay, so this server entity, we think that we are typing a message in our mobile. No, from mobile is wrong. What we do is, in the server, application server will be there. In that application project will be there. There, an object is created. Okay, this object is between the sender and the receiver. This object, okay, and hi. You are not typing in your mobile, Pooja Garu. You are typing in the server, in this object. Okay, are you clicking on WhatsApp before typing the message? That means WhatsApp application software in your mobile is the entry gateway into the server. There, an object is created. You will write hi. Do you think that hi is going to them? No. He will open WhatsApp. That means he is coming here. Okay. He will see that hi and write in the server. He will write hi, how are you? Okay. Then you will again go into WhatsApp and see. See, understand, guys. The perception in which we are seeing is an illusion. Internet is an illusion. Okay. They will make us comfortable. No, Pooja Garu, only one object between both of you. Only one object. See the excellent concept. In the server, that object is created. How are you coming and seeing this? If you have WhatsApp software, you are coming to the server and seeing. If this receiver has WhatsApp, he will come and see here. One object. Okay. Why I told you this concept? This is all virtual. Whatever you are seeing in your mobile is virtual. Okay, he is giving you the display of your server workout. Okay, display of your server workout in your mobile. That's it. See how virtual internet is. Thank you, Kalpana ma'am. I want you all to wait till 1:30, guys. Trust me, the actual concept is not this. Let's go to that concept. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. You have just given me more boost. Okay. So guys, what happens is, what am I trying to tell is, internet is a different world, server is a different world. They are internet, how it is defined? It is defined like this. If A is real server, then A plus IB is internet or virtual web space. Okay. Now two are different layers. Okay. So this is your real server. How can you make this a virtual server? Step one is install a virtual web server software. Okay. Softwares like Tomcat, Apache, IIS, all these come under that criteria. Okay. Install that virtual web server into this real server. Once you put that, the virtual web server, okay, now see, A is real server. That software is A plus IB. That is one concept which you need to understand. Second one, A is hard disk space. Then the virtual web server also has hard disk space, right? Virtual hard disk space here. Okay. How much hard disk space you have, that much virtual hard disk space you will have. Okay. In the same server. Did you get my point, guys? Now, as a software developer, as a Facebook developer, now I should not put that project directly into virtual web space also. First, it has to be put in real hard disk. If real hard disk it is not present, you cannot put it here. Okay, so you have put it here in D drive somewhere. From there, install the virtual web server, then put that into the respective URLs. Okay, respective folder structure, www/html for something. Okay, for IIS, it is inetpub www root. Because I am into Microsoft technologies, I work with IIS. Okay, so there you put that project. See the beauty, guys. This real server is nothing. The whole aspect is happening because of this virtual web server. And in the world, there are lakhs of servers. There are lakhs of virtual web server softwares installed. So the space in all these servers is web space, is internet. Okay, this was defined in 1993. Okay, this completes my first phase of today's webinar, guys. If you have understood, let me go to our actual phase. Okay, do you all understood till now, till here? I'll go to the next webinar, next phase. Perfect. So guys, I told you about infrastructure. I told you about automation. Okay, the evolution of automation. And guys, this object-oriented programming, trust me, object-oriented programming is so strong in itself. Okay, it is so strong in itself that after it got evolved, okay, now it is 2020, around 40 years. Trust me, guys, next 40 years also, any new damn language which is coming out in this world will come with the object-oriented programming concepts only. So powerful it is. Okay. And because of this platform independency given by Java and JDK, everyone started developing softwares which are web applications. Okay. They started putting in internet. Everyone downloaded them. They used to run crazily. Okay. Internet bandwidth started increasing. Software started increasing. Okay. In 4 or 5 years, lakhs of websites, lakhs of servers were introduced. And when something is growing like this, there will be some problem also growing. Okay. Can anyone tell me what was that problem which was growing? What was that problem which was growing constantly with this whole evolution of automation? Some guess. Scalability is very high. Scalability is very high because of softwares. Everything was scaled very easily. There is one more very important problem. These jobs are lost. That problem is anyway. Absolutely. Srilata Garu, you have told it. Yeah, storage was the problem. Space. Yes, Girish. Space was the security was fine. Okay. Security is ever a problem. But the growing problem was more of resources, space. Okay. Storage. It was increasing like hell. Okay. Seriously, it was increasing like seriously like a hell. Yeah, Kalpana garu, appudu varaku cloud ledu. There was no cloud then. That's where I'm coming to that topic. Okay, I just wanted to make you all understand why cloud has come into picture. Okay, that time cloud was not there. Cloud was introduced somewhere in 2000s, after millennium. Okay, and 1993 internet got introduced and everyone started developing softwares, web applications more of. Okay, and that gave rise, and as I told you, can you all see the presentation, guys? Infrastructure is one point, automation is another point, and the third one, which is creating a lot of problem at that point of time, was data. Data was creating the problem. Okay, and just to understand, okay, how big the problem of data is, okay, you all understand that in web applications, okay, let me show you the next slide. Okay, in web applications, there are two levels. One is processing level, another one is storage level. Storage, database management system. Processing, from the end user, someone will access it, and you need to work out with your application and show him. Okay, so in this process, lot of data is coming into database, guys. Lot of data. Just understand this slide where I have just put you all to understand how, from where all the data is coming, from users, from applications itself, from systems, from sensors. All this is accumulating a lot of data. Okay, and which devices? Cameras, sensors, machine sensors, microphones, social media, scanners, all these things, instruments, electronic devices are producing those data. And if the data is in one format, that is more than enough. But the data is never in one format. Videos, audios, images, okay, different .jpg, .mp4, different file formats, test messages, books, public records. Okay, these many file formats. Okay, and this is one statement which I wanted to tell you all, guys. Okay, which is given at the bottom. The units are not important, but 2.5 exabyte data is created every single day in 2020 before COVID. Just try to understand, guys. We are left out with only zettabyte and yottabyte. That will also be coming in. And one more statement I have seen, which is very popular these days: data in the world is getting doubled. Data in the world is getting doubled every year. And just think about what would have happened in the COVID season. Yeah, Amar, I'm coming to that point. Okay, so data in this world is creating a lot of problem. Okay, guys, there are two types of data you people should also be knowing: structured data and unstructured data. Okay, did you all get a doubt why to store this much data? They would have removed some data. Whenever it is not required, they can delete some data. But what happened is entrepreneurs did not want that unstructured data to be deleted. Okay, can you see this slide, guys? Structured data and unstructured data in green color. Yes or no? Wonderful, wonderful. So let me give you an example for structured data and unstructured data. Guys, structured data is the data which goes into DBMS, through DBMS into database in rows and columns. That is structured data. Unstructured data means which comes through experience, not directly into DBMS, in file formats, okay, in your social media pages, okay, which are also much important and they have to be stored. How to give you an example here? Let me give you an example. Okay, you all would be knowing Pani Puri Bandis, right? In Hyderabad, they're very famous. Okay, Pani Puri Bandi. Okay, that guy is also an entrepreneur. Let's try to understand what is structured data and unstructured data for that guy. Okay, what is structured data and unstructured data? Okay, structured data for a Pani Puri guy, Bandi guy, how much material he's bringing, okay, how much he is selling, what is his profit. This is structured data. And what is unstructured data? Okay, one day what happened, he generally stays from 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Okay, afternoon 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the evening. But one day what happened, at 5 o'clock, the whole material was completed. Then he started understanding, okay, from where did these many people came? Then he understood from a neighboring school, a public exam was started. Okay, because of that public exam, more people came to his Pani Puri Bandi. Then he got a conclusion. Okay, I will try to understand how many public exams are being taken in that school, and all those days I will bring 2 to 3 times more material so that I will get more profit. Okay, this is unstructured data. Weather condition. If it is cloudy or a bit rainy, okay, he should get more material. Okay, this is what do you say? Predictive analysis. Okay, where you use machine learning, okay, artificial intelligence, okay, all these things. For that, data is the core. Okay, so they did not let unstructured data go out of the control of the software. So that is creating another problem, that the whole data has to be maintained for as many days as possible. There is no other go for them. Okay, so this is the problem which they were facing. Okay, this is the problem they were facing, and most important point here is that data should not be deleted. And you all know how much important is for the recommendation engines. Now, when I'm seeing a Netflix account, okay, if I see horror movies, 4 or 5 horror movies, the 6th movie he will suggest is a horror movie. He does not know who am I also, but still he suggests because he is capturing the unstructured data. Okay, he is also capturing the timings when I am seeing, okay, what is my regular timings to see. All those things he's capturing unstructuredly. Okay, so that unstructured data is also getting captured. So do you all got convinced that unstructured data is also very important? Yes or no? Oops. Are you all there? So wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so the whole unstructured data is important. Now the problem came for the servers was, from where will we bring all this unstructured data? Where will we store? And it is increasing day by day. Okay, all these things, how we are going to store? That is the next problem. For that problem, in 2000s, okay, the solution came in terms of cloud computing. Okay, and what is cloud means? How is cloud computing defined is the best thing what I can tell you in this webinar. Okay, if A is internet, now tell me what is A plus IB. If A is internet, guys, in 1950, if A is real world, A plus IB is computer. Okay, in 1993, A is real server. Okay, and A plus IB is internet. Now my question is, in 2000s, 2004, 2005, if A is internet or web, then what is A plus IB? This technology has come for a solution for 2 things. Okay, one is storage, another one is processing. Absolutely, cloud is the answer for it. Okay, cloud is the answer for it. Now, for the next 20 minutes, we'll try to understand how cloud is giving a solution for this. Okay, how cloud is giving a solution for this. How can cloud, see, web servers does not have space, then how cloud is getting space? Okay, that should be the doubt which we need to answer today. One more point, virtual space is not cloud. Virtual space is internet itself. In 1993 itself, this is real space, virtual space was introduced. But cloud is something different from virtual space. Okay, let's try to understand it. Okay, did we complete till here, guys, without any doubts? Shall I go ahead? Yeah, Srilata Garu, data centers. We are coming to that point. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, okay. So let me go back to the presentation. Guys, just to make you all understand how data is growing, okay? This is just 6 months old data when I developed this presentation, okay? See how many 300 billion emails are sent every day. Okay, YouTube, 5 billion videos are watched every single day. It's a vast data, vast data. There's one important analysis which I have done. Okay, understand this here in the table which I have given. Okay, capacity is database. Okay, in 90s it was 2.1 GB. In 2010s it is 3 TB. Okay, so the evolution of it is into 150 times or 200 times. Price also decreased very nicely, very drastically decreased. But see the speed, 16.6 MB per second has just got itself 10 times increased. Okay, and time to read the whole disk, 210 MB per second, 4 hours it will take for the whole disk to be read. Okay, so processing is a problem. One, storage is a problem. These two are the problems which cloud is showing solution. Okay, let's try to understand how. I am not here to talk about the definitions of cloud, but it is using information technology as a service over the network. This is fine. This is fine. Let me directly take you to the very important slide for today. This one. Okay. Let's first understand the concept of virtualization. Then it will be easy for us to understand what is cloud. Okay. So guys, generally our system contains 4 layers. Okay. Hardware layer, kernel layer, operating system layer, and application layer. Okay, hardware layer, kernel layer, OS layer, and application layer. 4 layers there will be. Okay, here kernel layer is not important. I have not put it. On hardware, if you are putting a hypervisor layer, okay, then your system is set to be virtualized. Okay, I'll show you in my next slide. Okay, what it will help? Okay, I'm putting a virtual layer hypervisor. What it will help? Guys, the help is when you put a VMware layer on hardware, you can have as many operating systems and as many applications on each operating systems you can install. Okay. Apart means if you don't put VMware or hypervisor layer, it will be like on hardware, one operating system and few applications on that operating system. But here, when you put a VMware virtualized layer, then you can develop how many operating systems you want. Okay, but you may get one more doubt: how this is solving storage and processing problem? Okay, you may have this doubt. Okay, how this is solving storage and operating system problem? Okay, I will answer this question. Okay, I'll answer this question. See guys, let me take should I take? Okay, Kalpana ma'am. She's the last one in the chat box, so I'm taking her name. Kalpana ma'am, can you tell me, okay, how many hours you use your system per day? Per day, on an average. Don't talk about COVID season, before COVID. Generally, how many hours? Not mobile, system. You use 12 hours per day. Before COVID, 8. Oops. Ma'am, okay. Okay, average person, technical person, maybe they will take 5 hours. Okay, 5 hours daily, they will work on a computer. Okay, so, but how many hours we have per day? 24 hours. Okay, remaining 19 hours, the system will be idle. Okay, now see the beauty, guys. What cloud computing has done is remaining 19 hours, he has given that system to other people to work. Did you all get my point? Okay, remaining time. Okay, if it is your personal system, how can you do it? Okay, you cannot do it if it is your personal system. So that's why he has opted this cloud option for servers. Server, it is used by everyone. Okay, so now server, it can be idle for some time also, because in this server you have one application and people are hitting that server in the morning time. Evening time it is free. Yes, Abhinav. So that time, and one more thing, if somebody is using for 5 hours, okay, per day, are you using the whole 1 TB hard disk for 5 hours? Yes. Can you use the whole 1 TB hard disk for 5 hours? No. Can you use the whole 8 GB RAM for 5 hours? So what does that mean? At that time also, you can give some part of it for other person to work. Yes or no? So you can give some part of it for the other person to work. Yes or no? That is cloud computing. So what is he doing is absolutely resource management. That is what is cloud computing. When you approach to AWS, now for example, we have developed an edutech platform called Gold Street. Okay, Gold Street. Okay, we developed it using Angular for the front end and .NET for the business layer, and we used AWS DBMS, Simple DB. Okay, now in this thought process also, what I will do, I have two options. One, I can take one real server, okay, and put my application in that, or I can take cloud. Okay, cloud is again a server, but the resources are managed, okay, in an elastic way. Did you all get my point? The resources are managed in its best elastic way. Okay, let me first tell you what is okay. See this, guys. Here in the first diagram, this is your host operating system. If you on hardware, if you have host operating system, and upon that you put a virtualization layer, then it is called, the system is virtualized. That's it. But upon hardware, if you put the virtualization layer, okay, then the system is acting as a cloud, part of cloud. Okay, and for example, how many people are there in the room today? 90. Okay, for calculating, we will define it as 100. Okay, 100 people have 100 computers. Okay, and let's take all the RAMs of these 100 computers. How many RAMs? Average is 8 GB. So 100 into 8, 800 GB RAM, you put it at one place. Okay, 800 GB RAM, you put it at one place. Hard disk space. Average hard disk is 1 TB. So 100 people are there. 100 TB. Hard disk space, put it at one place. Processor speed, i7. Okay, 100 into i7. Processor speed, put it at one place. Okay, and now this is called hardware layer. Okay, and upon this, you have a virtualized layer. Okay, I'll show you in the presentation. Okay, this one is, guys. Okay, you have all the hardware layer at the bottom. Okay, upon that you have the virtual infrastructure. Upon that you have the virtual infrastructure. Okay, upon that you created virtual machines. Okay, and upon that operating systems and applications, and those applications are given to users. Now in this way, can you guess, guys? 100 systems of the people who are there in this room, if you apply the virtualization layer and make a cloud of these 100 systems, how many people can use approximately? How many personal systems, as a personal system, how many people can use the hardware of these 100 systems? Can anyone tell us? How many people can use the hardware of these 100 systems? N number. 10,000 people can use. The hardware of these 100 systems can be used by 10,000 people. Because they want it for some time only. Okay. Yes, Kodeshwara Garu. Using cloud. Now these 100 systems are made. Now, how many people are using these 100 systems? 100 people are using. Okay. But if you take out the RAM, complete RAM, okay, if you take out complete hard disks and keep it at one place and put a virtualized layer and make it a cloud, okay, that cloud can be used by 10,000 people, guys. Is it not amazing? These are all simple concepts. I will share the PPT. You people can see it. This is one more important concept, guys, which is nothing different. Okay, it is very simple. Economics of cloud users. Okay, so generally in a static data center where you have servers in place. Okay, I as a Facebook owner. Okay, for example. So as a Facebook owner, 10 minutes. As a Facebook owner, I took a server directly whose capacity is some X. Okay, with respect to the demand, okay, I have to take the capacity very high so that my site will not crash. But if I am taking it like that, then I'm wasting lot of resources. Okay, let me give you an example, real-time example. You take a car, guys. For me, okay, I take a car, I use a car for 7 to 8 times a month, not every day. Okay, is it right to take a 10 lakhs car for a normal guy for whom 10 lakhs is very big, very huge amount? What is a smart way? For those 7 or 8 days, use Uber or Ola. Save the 10 lakhs for some other process, some other task. Okay, that is cloud. Rather than taking the 10 lakhs car and putting it in your parking, okay, just don't take that car, pay for 7 or 8 times a month, okay, and go and come wherever you want. That is cloud. And the best thing is the cloud has that elastic property. When the demand is less, okay, he will not charge from you. When demand is high, he will charge more from you. Okay, and in that way, the unused resources is less in terms of cloud and more in terms of static data center. If in the other case, if you take up, see, this is underutilization. And there is one more case where you take up the capacity is less, then you will lose the users because the website will not work now. Okay, because of that problem, again, you have lost revenue and lost users. So the best way you have to do is by using the data center in the cloud, which has elastic property. Okay, and the other things you should be knowing them better than me. Okay, about this, yeah, 4 different, the way he packaged, how he managed resources is he has divided all the resources into 4 types. One is hardware layer, infrastructure as a service. Second one is operating system as a service. Okay. Third one is application or software as a service. And the fourth one is the whole business process as a service. Let's try to take up few examples, okay, of what is what. Okay. Amazon is giving its cloud as Amazon's web services, AWS, and they are giving infrastructure and platform as a service. Okay, they are more popular to infrastructure and platform. When you come to Google Apps, software as a service is the most popular, like your spreadsheets, Google Docs. Okay, the Google Meet, which we are having, is also a software in cloud. Okay, so Microsoft is very good at its platform, Windows. Okay, so Azure is the cloud platform of Windows, platform as a service. Salesforce CRM tool is a business and a software as a service. It also comes under business process as a service. Okay, IBM Blue Cloud is very popular for its infrastructure and platform as a service. And if you want to understand business process as a service, guys, you no need to establish softwares for your call center. The whole call center is in cloud and you can use it as a service. Okay, no need to put computers, recording devices, and all for a call center also. All are available in cloud. You can take it on rent. That is called business process as a service. Okay, so that, see guys, the most important points in today's session. Okay, and I leave this session with a question, guys. Now all these servers, okay, all these servers are what do you say? All these servers are internet web servers, okay, are real world, and cloud is virtual world. Okay, now the research is going on because cloud will be there for the next 10 years. Okay, but there should be something else, okay, which has to accommodate the growing data and the processing speed. Okay, all those things have to be accommodated. Okay, so the next will be, if A is cloud, then what is A plus IB? And because of cloud, guys, trust me, we are into a dimension, okay, we are into a generation where real world, we feel like virtual world is the real world. Yes or no? Because if cloud is not there, we couldn't have processed data to so quickly. Okay, and these days we know both real and virtual world balancedly, but the next generation which is coming, they will think that virtual world is the real world. Okay, so what all points did we conclude today? First one is a computer is A plus IB for a real world A in 1950. Okay, in 1993, internet is A plus IB for a real world A as a server, and cloud is A plus IB when A is internet or web. Okay, and how cloud could give so much storage and processing speed? Because of its pay-per use. How it is done? All the servers in the world, are kept at one place. What is the latest research topic? Latest research is going on in, if A is cloud, then what is A plus IB? Okay, that is the next topic which is going on. Guys, A plus IB, complex numbers concept. IB, imaginary number is IB. Abhinav, I'm just consolidating what all we have learned till now. Absolutely, Purushottam Garu. I don't want to take that name DNA kind of genome structure because it is not officially declared. But that is what is A plus IB. If A is cloud, then A plus IB is that technology. But it has not officially come out, so I am not telling it because this is a platform where I have to tell only things which are already proved. Okay, so guys, please consolidate them and speak with your students in terms of these concepts. Okay, and my mail ID is given in the presentation. Hope you all can see that. Or I will share this presentation with Aisha ma'am. Okay, so this is my mail ID, guys. If you want any webinars from our company, okay, you can write directly to me so that we can put some free webinars in your colleges also. But apart from that, I thank Janaki ma'am who has given me this opportunity, okay, to take this webinar. And one thing I can tell you guys, this webinar has been a bit different from other webinars for one possible reason, that you all have been so active answering my questions, because I was a bit skeptical. Okay, I have taken a lot of faculty development programs, but where I only used to speak. Most of the times I only used to speak. I never get answers from faculty. But this group of 88 people, there are at least 30 to 40 people who have answered most of the questions respecting my questions. Deep of my heart, I thank everyone, okay, who spent 1.5 hours listening to this session. Thank you very much. And any such kind of sessions, if you want us to put it in your colleges, okay, please write to me. Okay, my mail ID is durganaveen@coin.net.
Comments?
Okay, and I really enjoyed the session, Aisha ma'am, because the ways to all the faculty were interactive. Okay, and I hope you all understood the actual understanding of cloud computing and how it got evolved. Okay, and making it more real. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. When I introduced you, you were saying that you are just a faculty like us, but you're more than that, sir, because we people forgot that it is lunchtime and we are so much involved into the discussions with you and participants. Thank you so much for such an active participation. I would like to request some of the participants and please speak to sir. Any one of you, please.
There is a question from Sanjay Garu. Kindly suggest me, sir. Sanjay Garu, all Google and Azure and AWS, all are free. And for experimenting anything on your research work, like load balancing or something, please use those tools. AWS has given, AWS Educate has given directly all the tools for the faculty members to work on for free. And similarly, Azure is an extraordinary operating system on cloud. Okay, you can actually work on it. Okay, because the resources what they have given are for free. Okay, yeah, cloudism. And I will share the PPT with Aisha ma'am so that she can send it to all the faculty. Okay, yeah.
Yes, sir. From tomorrow, all our participants are also starting their hands-on session on AWS, sir. Everybody is ready, created their accounts. We have
Wonderful.
industry expert, 3 days, 6 hours, we are giving them on exposure on what all tools they can use for their research. 6 hours, complete hands-on is going to start from tomorrow.
Wonderful, ma'am, wonderful.
Any of the participants would like to unmute and speak, you are welcome.
Hello, ma'am. This is Sandeep Kumar Sharma from Pune University, Jaipur. And I would like to thank you, sir. He gave us such a wonderful session to us. Actually, I am working on AWS from last 3 years, and I am seeing some vulnerability in AWS. So, can you suggest me, sir, how I put these vulnerability in front of the AWS? And I don't know if it is actually correct or not, but as I implement some applications over that AWS, so I feel in the load balancing section there are some problems. So can you suggest me how I put these problems in front of the AWS, or what is the best way?
I'll tell you. Yeah. See, guys, if you're, whenever you're talking about AWS, irrespective of whether
Sir,
you
Durga,
need
sir, you are not audible.
Oh, just a second.
Sir, you're audible, sir,
Yeah,
please.
yeah. Now it's
audible. Okay.
Yeah.
Audible.
Yeah. See, what happens is such kind of load balancing problems we also got when we were doing our project. Okay. What you need to do is you have to talk to an AWS consultant. Why an AWS consultant is? See, in your project, you will have database. See, there are 3 layers. One is front-end layer, business layer, and DB layer. Now, the whole project, we try to put it in AWS directly. But what we need to do is there is a concept called the database has to be put separately into RDS. Okay, business layer has to be put separately into some other server folder. Okay, front end has to be put separately into some other folder. Then only you can work on load balancing and solve it and troubleshoot it. Rather than that, when we put everything in one folder and into AWS space directly, like S3 or something like that, or you take ECS, okay, one unit and you put it in that free bucket, okay, then you may not get good results with respect to load balancing.
Okay. Sir, actually, when I perform some some tasks on application load balancing, as we see in application load balancing, there are only 2 ports, HTTP and HTTPS are open. And if we talk about the network load balancer, that it work on the transport layer. If we talk about OSI layer model, so if I send a request using the HTTP or HTTPS port, in application load balancer. So can these two ports are bypassed through other protocols or not?
I don't think they are bypassed.
Okay.
Okay, they are not bypassed. They have to be. You have to pass all these things. But let's do something like this. This I cannot answer it directly like this because it is a very big topic where we need to talk about 4 protocols.
Okay.
Okay, so let's do something like this. Aisha ma'am, if in tomorrow's session where
Yes.
you'll be speaking with AWS consultant itself,
Yes,
if
sir.
you don't get an answer, I think you will get an answer tomorrow directly.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, because it is not a small topic where I can just answer you this question, because you need to create those buckets in such a way that the protocols with which you are passing, for example, you
Getting,
need
sir.
to make a separate layer for secure socket.
Hmm.
That should be a separate layer so that all HTTPS requests will be going through that. You
Okay.
should make a separate layer for HTTP requests. All those things will be done by a consultant. If you have to do it, then you have to learn the concept of managing AWS infrastructure.
Fine.
Okay, then it will be more apt.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And definitely, I will in contact with you. And same, I suggest I request you to do a webinar for my students in future, and I will mail you for regarding this. Definitely, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandeep Kumar sir. And
Thank you,
definitely your mail will be responded because Durga Naveen sir, in spite of his busy schedule, he definitely takes time when fraternity, like faculty are requesting him. It's very
Thank
kind
you.
of
Ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak? Dr. Kalpana Deshmukh ma'am, would you like to speak anything?
Yeah, good afternoon, ma'am. Actually, I'm Dr. Kalpana Deshmukh from Indra School of Business Studies, Pune. I'm completely new in that, but sir, really, it is very informative session. Thank you so much, and looking forward for many more sessions from your side. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Kalpana ma'am. So, Durga Naveen sir, I on behalf of Vagdevi College of Engineering and all the participants of this FDP, thank you wholeheartedly for the energetic session which you have given in spite of you feeling hungry. We forgot about our hunger. Thank you so much, sir. And it was very, very interactive, and the participants also were just interacting. The flow of answers was stunning me like anything when they were giving. Thank you so much for this knowledge you have shared with all our participants. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. A request to participants, if anybody has missed to give your attendance, I am sharing the link once again. Please give it. Let us join at 2:30 for our third session of this. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for
Yes,
giving me this
Prakash
opportunity.
sir. Yeah, somebody is online. Dr. Prakash sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir and ma'am. It's a very knowledgeable session. But my question, one small question, is suppose how will I upload the application on a web server, and how will create it? So that kindly suggest me, sir, on AWS.
Sir,
Suppose-
tomorrow's session.
Yeah, suppose I want to create a application, suppose,
Okay.
and I want to upload on a AWS. So
Okay.
that's why I am crazy regarding it. How will you create it? Yeah.
I'm really sorry to disappoint you, but see, if I have to tell, I have to tell only theoretically. But I
Yeah.
think tomorrow's session, where there is a hands-on session on AWS, you
Okay,
will
sir.
prepare a small application in your computer, and you will upload it into AWS cloud.
Okay.
I think
Thanks, sir.
that hands-on session will give you more practical knowledge than me answering this question. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks.
So I would like to add, Dr. Prakash sir, in case if the hands-on session also couldn't help you, then you can use sir's mail ID and contact him. Definitely he is going to help you again.
I'll give a session on that, sir. Not a problem.
Okay. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Okay, sir, thank you so much. So participants will meet at sharp 2:30 for the third session. Thank you so much, sir. And the link will be the same for the third session also. For your kind notice, the same link of Google Meet for the third session also. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, all the faculty. It was a great session. And I cannot forget this session for one possible reason, that of people interacting very nicely. And thank you very much for this wonderful experience and memory. Thank you.